are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, the podcast is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and you can email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Ulises, we have a busy show for the audience today as we have some more news and awards to dive into as Kevin Cash wins his second straight Manager of the Year award in the American League, something that is very rare to do, back-to-back MOY awards. And then later on in the show, we will have a player review of one Andrew Kitrich. But first things first, Kevin Cash wins Manager of the Year.
Congratulations to Kevin Cash for this awesome achievement because it puts him right next to Bobby Cox, back-to-back. That's something to be proud of, and you know he was his normal self in his interview after he got it. You know, kind of with his humor, saying, you know, I never, would expect it to be this good. Right. Coming from a career that I wasn't so good at, but no, that's great, and I think his managing of 18 rookies.
Yes.
38 different pitchers, 60 plus players in 2021 in the toughest division in baseball, where 4 teams won 90 plus games. Very well deserved to be that guy who came out on top and get 100 wins.
Do you think this Manager of the Year for Kevin Cash was more impressive than last year's honor that he won in the 60-game season where the team went 40-20?
I think so. Although, that's tough because when you've got 40 plus players, having to contribute in a very short season with all the protocols, the COVID protocols, let's not forget that. So right. I may take that away. You know, how do you keep 40 plus guys, 40 plus adults that want to go out in New York City but can't?
Right.
Who are told, no, stay in your hotel room. How do you handle that pent up wanting to do things for not even the players, but the coaching staff too, right? You have to, be the guy at the helm. So I go back. I think 2020 was probably more difficult because of the COVID protocols than this year.
That's what I thought at first, but then I go back and look at that roster compared to this roster and how much circumstances and adversity that this year's team had to go through to win 100 games and the expectations too. Yep. What were the expectations coming into the season from the national media and throughout a lot of the so-called baseball experts? Many predicted the Rays to finish 4th in the AL East. Yeah. And you consider no Charlie Morton, no Blake Snell. Tyler Glass now goes down in June. Ryan Yarbrough wasn't the same player this season. No. You have to navigate the trade of Willie Adames and put a rookie shortstop in, then another rookie shortstop in. No Nick Anderson. The trade of Diego Castillo, a different closer seemingly every night for the most part. There was a lot of things that had to happen, and really, really credit to him for what he was able to do. I would venture to say that this was as impressive, if not more impressive, than what he did last year.
I think this is a great poll. You know, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to comment and say, hey, which one do you think is more deserving, the 2020 or the 2021? What's harder? Yeah. What did he have to do that's harder, the 2020 or the 2021 season as a manager? I think, okay, so I'll take 2020, you'll take 2021. Yeah. And honestly, isn't that such a fantastic thing to have to even ponder on this podcast? Oh, which Manager of the Year award is the one that's most deserving? Both, guys. Right. It's pretty impressive. And again, joining Bobby Cox as a guy who's gone back to back, that speaks highly to how other managers, other baseball writers, see Kevin Cash.
Right. And also, I didn't even mention this, but some of the guys that were expected to be major contributors that weren't this season, Chris Archer and Yoshi Tsutsugo, two of the more higher paid players on the team, they were, for the most part, nowhere to be found. They were absent from the team for the most part. And I think something that Kevin Cash doesn't get enough credit for is having to navigate all the different players that come into the fold day in and day out. Like one day it's, hey, Joey Kriebel, nice to meet you here. Okay. What's your story? Sean Poppin. What's so funny is there's so many different pitchers. Evan Phillips. I wonder if some of those guys walked up to Kevin Cash today, if he would remember their names. Because there were so many different David Hess, DJ Johnson, all these different characters.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I don't doubt it. You know what? Because I think the biggest pro has been his reputation as a player's manager.
Yeah.
So I think guys really like playing for him. So I wouldn't be surprised. But it's a lot. It takes a whole. I don't think he can remember all of them from 2015, 2016,
Certainly.
2017. But maybe the last couple seasons.
And then, of course, managing the playing time of the guys and making sure everybody stays content and happy and buys into what the organizational ethos is. And, another thing, too, that I think he doesn't get enough credit for is the tough conversations. How many times did he have to talk to Lewis Head about, man, you did great for us today, but we're sending you back to Durham. And he had to do that 12 times.
Yes. I mean, with a stone face, I'm sorry I'm asking you to do this once again. Mm-hmm. It's like that Bernie meme. I'm asking you to do blank. That's basically what Kevin Cash was doing to poor Lewis Head.
Essentially.
Oh, my gosh.
One more thing here on the Kevin Cash Award. And I don't think I've got any more crazy hot takes like I put on Twitter the other day.
Can we parenthesize this conversation? My goodness, you got ratioed.
Yes, I did.
Oh, my God. Happens. People came out with gunslinging for your throat, man.
And by the way, I didn't read half the comments. I just click on the notifications and move on. I just start away.
It was you were like that again, meme talk. Yes. You were like that little girl in the swing set with the burning house behind her. Yeah, that was you.
While people were losing their minds
they were
on
losing
Twitter.
You were laughing?
I was laughing at the driving range. I was working on my game. That's what I was doing. So while you guys were on your cell phones and just very upset, I was enjoying the Tampa weather outdoors and working on my handicap.
So you're telling me that you just trolled Rays Nation out of nowhere?
And not necessarily purposefully. I think I brought up some decent points on yesterday's show and then put that out on Twitter. It might not have gone over that well, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And that's why, I'm going to stop tweeting. I'm just going to read Twitter and not tweet as much or retweet stuff because I tweet once every couple of weeks, and there always seems to be some sort of issue one way or the other. But one last thing on the Kevin Cash Manager of the Year conversation. As of today, as of right now, do you think he is more accomplished or has done a better job than Joe Maddon did in a Rays/Devil Rays uniform?
No. No, we've talked about this. Again, longer sample size for Joe Maddon, more, and so the success is there.
Okay.
And let's be honest, it's a little bit more difficult to get the stink of the Devil Ray into becoming hey, we're good. Hey, pay attention to us. That Joe Maddon had to go through than what Kevin Cash is, which was basically receive the baton from Joe Maddon, receive a baton that contained a World Series appearance, to division banners, wild card entries. He was receiving all of this. So I think not only because of the larger sample size, but man, it's tough being the guy that wore the actual green and white as a manager and having to say, no, we're not those people anymore. So I got to still give more credit to Joe Maddon. And I know it's not all about awards, but Joe Maddon does have 3.
But we're all 3 with okay.
No,
fair enough.
But total.
But those are very good points. And this is one of those debates and conversations that it's a positive one. It's like, which guy has had more success with the Rays? But I will say in Kevin Cash's backing him up a little bit is you look at Joe Maddon, and yes, there was the transition from Devil Rays era to Rays era, but he had a lot of studs in those early Rays days with Longo and Crawford and Zobrist. He had some 7-8 WAR players year in and year out. And I think the pitching staff was easier to manage back then compared to nowadays, where it was like, all right, James Shields, give us 8 or 9 innings. Okay, David Price, give us 7 or 8 innings. Okay, Matt Garza, give us 7 or 8 innings. Like, it was roll out the starter, use a reliever, use the closer that you signed in free agency.
And that's the thing. That's why it's you can't always get what you want. The Stones are right, because if you could, then you would say, let me take that pitching from Madden's era, and I'll take the hitting from Kevin Cash. So let's not forget that Joe Madden was trying to put Britt Brignac, Elliot Johnson, and Sean Rodriguez and actually get runs.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? How crazy is that? So I understand where you're coming from, but Joe Madden also had it tough with the lineup.
And I will say this, Joe Madden, something he had to do was, because that was a point in time where shifts were so foreign and some of the things that the Rays were doing were so foreign, getting the players, getting the coaching staff on board with that was very important. But on the flip side, there was a larger, assuming you get players and coaches to buy in, there was a larger, I feel, advantage with the market and efficiency because other teams weren't doing what the Rays were doing. Nowadays, every team has an analytic department and data scientist and all the metrics and all the technology. We're trying to get that new frontier isn't necessarily there. The Rays are trying to do it with different things, such as the opener and so forth. But I feel like that's something where the playing field is evened, so that's even put more onus on Kevin Cash to be able to perform. It's crazy because I've heard there's some people that have worked in front offices that have said that the difference between a great manager and an average or a bad manager could be like 8 to 10 wins.
Yeah. And that isn't that a kick in where?
Yeah.
It sucks, man. It sucks. But that's the gig. That's what they sign up for. And you know what? Kevin Cash is here to stay for a long, long time. I think it's as long as Brendan Lau's contract. So don't fret, Kevin Cash fans. Those with Kevin Cash jerseys, don't fret.
He's the. Wasn't there a poll that we put up that he was the face of the franchise? Our manager is the face of the franchise. 44-year-old Kevin Cash.
I'm so not on board with having a manager be the face of the franchise. But I'll tell you what I'm on board for. I'm on board for Built Bars. Because it's that time of the year. Thanksgiving is coming up. All of the good food and treats and plenty of them. But if you want a yummy dessert, you don't want something that's full of calories and sugar. No, I want something that is low in sugar, low in fat, low in carbs, and it has high protein. That's Built Bar, and it's covered in 100% real chocolate. You all know what you've got to do. You go to Built.com, and then you choose all of your flavors. You get a mixed flavor box if you can't make up your mind. And right before you hit that purchase button, you say, wait, hold up. I got a promo code, and it's LOCKED15. It's LOCKED15. And you get 15% off. And you know what? Maybe you can brag about that to Aunt Betty in Thanksgiving. Hey, Aunt Betty, here's a Built Bar. And by the way, that was 15% off because I used promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com.
Okay, Ulises, moving along from the Kevin Cash conversation. Player review time. We've got to fit this and squeeze this into a couple segments. Andrew Kitrich, what went well, what went wrong, his future with the team, and we'll give him a grade at the end. Let's dive right into the reliever. What went well for Kitty? Andrew Kitrich, a.k.a. what's my nick? Who does he look like? The doppelganger?
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. There we go.
Beard.
Yeah.
Without the
beard.
Sans beard. Look, a lot went right for Andy Kitt. Andy Kitt. Has anybody ever called him Andrew Kitrich?
That does sound like a baseball player as well.
Yeah.
Andy Kitt. Batting fifth, playing third base.
So Andrew Kitrich, I mean, he was fantastic. Of course, we all know that he was an all-star, but let's go into the big numbers. 71 2/3 innings pitched, 77 strikeouts in those 71 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.88 ERA. He had a walk rate of 5.30, K rate of 27.30, and a whip. I love this whip. 0.98. He was a 1-point F4 player. Everything seemed to go right for Kitrich. Yeah. And when I say everything seemed to go right, you can just go up and down all of his appearances throughout the game itself, and you can see first, second, third, fourth, every single inning he was a part of, and he succeeded in that role. I mean, he was the most assured guy in this bullpen, no doubt, from day one until day 162.
Yeah, no, very good points there. And let's remember that he was signed as a minor league free agent. He signed a minor league contract, I should say,
right,
after coming off that terrible UCL sprain that he suffered in 2020 in a game against the Boston Red Sox. So the expectations were, I think, pretty low. We didn't have, hey, Andrew Kitrich is going to be the best reliever for the Rays this year coming out of spring training. I don't think many people expected that, but he showed, at least if we look at everything from game one to the last game, his velocity actually improved on his sinker and slider. And, you mentioned some of the strikeout rate and the walk rate, but the chase rate was the best in baseball, 100th percentile.
Isn't that crazy?
According to Baseball Savant. He also had a really, really excellent ground ball rate. And what I liked about Kitrich and what he showed this year, I'd call him a triangle pitcher because he has the four-seam pitcher that he uses occasionally.
Yes.
Four-seam pitch at the top of the zone. He has the sinker down and in, and the slider down and away. Makes a little triangle.
Ooh.
And he executes that pretty darn well. And he was effective against lefties and righties. He was most effective in high leverage situations. In fact, his numbers are better in high leverage situations compared to medium and low leverage. And if you look at a lot of his strikeouts, they are, if you go back and see the video where the catcher sets up, he hits his spot most every time on the put away pitch. The catcher sets up down and away, he hits it down and away. It's not like catcher sets up down and away and Kitrich actually accidentally threw it up and in, but he got away with it. No, where Mejia and Zunino set up that glove, he hit that glove most every time on a strikeout pitch.
It's the two C's you want to know. It's the two C's. No, it's the two C's.
There we
folks.
go. We're on video here.
Two C's you want to hit: pitcher, command, and control. And he got that. And I love that you point that out, because while you were seeing him during the regular season, it was as if he was just throwing BP sometimes. Yeah. So just playing catch.
He just rears back and throws it.
Yeah. And it's a strong 97, 98. And I want to highlight the slider a little bit, because that was devastating. Hitters batted 195 on it and slugged 301. That slider plays, and it plays real well. As far as, negatives, Kevin.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. I mean, there's not a ton from a guy who put up the numbers he had.
It's a struggle to find the negatives. If I had to, nitpick here.
Yes.
Because that's what a player review is. We nitpick people. He came to earth post All-Star. The All-Star game. I think his ERA went from 147 to 251. I know that. 147 to 251. In 15 innings pitched less post All-Star game, he allowed more hits and a lot more runs.
Yeah.
So could that be him getting a little bit tired? Let's remember, he has never pitched this much before in the major leagues. I mean, his career high was 49 2/3. He pitched 71 2/3 this year. So I think there was some fatigue to talk about, Kit, and people were talking about to us in September, like, oh, is the bullpen imploding too much? Yeah. Kitrich was kind of part of that.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of credence and merit into he probably ran out of steam in September and early October. In fact, as I mentioned, his velocity was higher on the year compared to 2019 and 2020. But if you look at his last couple of appearances, the sinker might have been 93 and 94 instead of 95-7 as it was earlier on in the season. And I don't know if there was as much bite and movement on his pitches compared to pre-All-Star break. I mean, you look at some of those series where in September and October combined, not counting the playoffs, this is regular season, a 5.59 ERA and 9 2/3 innings, 14 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned. He gave up 3 homers in his last 5 appearances. I mean, we remember those games against the Detroit Tigers where it was like a hanging sinker or a hanging slider.
Wait, did you say 3 home runs in September?
Yeah.
He allowed 7 in the year.
Exactly.
So Yes.
So, yeah. And also some of this may be he did have an IL stint. He did have neck tightness. And I honestly thought at the time it was like a phantom injury, that it was a way to give him some rest. But it might have been a combination of a couple things. I mean, this guy had only in 2020 thrown like 8 or 9 innings, 10 innings before. So you add all that. I mean, that's a huge ramp up for a guy like Kitrich. And what you noticed sometimes that, and even when he did get outs later on in the season, they were loud outs. There were some. Yes. Is Austin Meadows going to make this catch at the warning track?
Whoa, he did.
He barely got this ball. Look at that. So there was some of that. And I think maybe, because he did have such a high ground ball rate. And again, that's why you build a good baseball team. You have really good defenders behind you, and you play in Tropicana Field, pitcher's friendly ballpark. I think he had some benefit from that, because if you look, his expected ERA was actually supposed to be, or was 3.01, and his FIP was 3.03. So not bad numbers by any means, but quite a mark higher than what his ERA shows.
So when people say, "Oh well, I'd rather get a starter, or I'd rather get a starter than a bullpen guy," I say, who's your bullpen guy? Because I can't put all my green Skittles on Andrew Kitrich repeating 2021 in 2022. I can't. Can you put green Skittles on that, Kevin?
I love how you mentioned green Skittles. There might have to be a prop bet involving Andrew Kitrich.
Ooh.
And the only place that I think you can do that or find that would be BetOnline. BetOnline is back and better than ever before. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That includes baseball as well. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use that promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, to receive that bonus. BetOnline, it is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, and it is where the game starts. Okay, Ulises, looking at, we went through what went right and what went wrong with Andrew Kitrich. Now his future with the team, according to Baseball Reference anyway, he is arbitration eligible this year and will be a free agent in 2025. I assume he will be on the Rays this upcoming season. However, I could also see a scenario where the Rays maybe sell high on him as well. Who knows with this franchise, quite frankly.
Well, I guess it would depend on the salary, right? But yeah, I wouldn't.
Is Andrew Kitrich going to have another? This was his career year. He can't repeat this again ever, can he?
I'm Rays Nation. Where would you put your green Skittles on?
Yeah,
that he's going to be now this guy forever, or that this was a peak in his career. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of baseball. You have to, and I know that Locked On Rays listeners have seen a lot of baseball too. Relievers are volatile.
Yes.
It's okay to have a career year. I would venture that this is probably his career year. Now, does that mean that he's going to be a 5 ERA reliever? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Would I pay, would I have him on the roster for a couple million, which is probably what he's going to get paid, right? Like 1.5, maybe 2 mil. Yeah. I mean, you can't be that cheap, right, Stu?
I think you can. Au contraire, sir.
Yeah. He's like, well, I got a good one for you. No.
Hold my beer.
Yeah. I hope he stays. I don't think he's going to repeat what he did in 2021, which is completely okay. But I think he's a reliable guy who has shown that he is versatile. He buys in. I think that is a really, really good thing. And let's not forget, that was his first postseason, a taste of postseason.
Yeah.
He had never pitched in the postseason before. So good for him for getting that in his all-star year. And hopefully he stays with the team. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays do what they do best, which is sell at the right time. Yeah. They sell at the right time. Is this not the best time to sell Kitrich?
It certainly would look that way. Although, again, and that's why I say you've got to do something about the bullpen. You've got to add at least another high leverage arm, because you don't have Nick Anderson at least until after the All-Star break. And who knows how effective he's going to be Diego Castillo. And again, I like that trade and all, but he was the saves leader for the Rays, and he's no longer on the team.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, Andrew Kitrich, if he's on the team next year, this upcoming year, does he lead the team in saves? He had 8 this past year.
That's true. I hope he stays.
Yeah.
I want to get somebody next to him.
It would be nice.
If you get somebody next to him, I would hope that person leads the saves category. So I'm going to say no, Kitrich will not be leading in saves, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to get those opportunities. I think if you can get a guy, you know what they tried to do in 2018 and 2019, where I think it was maybe their best time, where they try to pair up Castillo and Alvarado and like a switcheroo one day, and then the next guy gets the 8th, the other day gets the 9th. If you could get a guy like that for Kitrich, I would not be opposed to that.
It would be nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Before we get to Andrew Kitrich's grade that we want to give him, I look at the Steamer projections for 2022 for him. 65 innings pitched, over, under. On that. Okay. Under. 3.29 ERA, over, under.
Under.
Okay. And saves. Oh my gosh. They have him. Okay. 20 saves, over or under. That's what they have him at.
Oh, you gave me the meatball last?
Yeah.
Dope. Under.
Yeah. I guess Steamer projects Kitrich to be the Rays' primary closer, which as of today, I guess he is. He's the guy ahead of Fairbanks and Fire Eisen and Chagua, correct?
100% he's above those guys. Yes.
All right. Great time.
To an all-star, to a guy that you can give the ball to at any time of the game, and he would come through. 95, man. 95. That he's just a solid A. I don't think we could have asked anything more than what Andrew Kitrich provided for the Rays this season.
I'm going to give him a bump up. I'm going to give him an A+ 97.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Really good job.
So Kitrich,
put that on the fridge. I know you wanted your grade from the Locked On Rays podcast. There you go. I don't know if you can get an NFT of our grade onto the fridge, but if you can't, make it happen.
Kitrich is going to like our grade. Yarbrough probably won't like our grade, honestly, when that comes
that's
up.
Coming up, yeah.
Assuming he's still on the team by the time we get to the Weiss.
We go alphabetically, so
And here's the thing. If the guy is no longer on the team, we don't do a player review of that player. Lewis Head, you're gone before we got to you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we might have just bypassed him. But
no. Glass now, and then Kitrich. So
okay. Yeah. So we skipped quite a few letters then. Either way there. So, all right. Anything else you want to mention, Ulises, before we hop on?
I do. I want to say thank you, everybody, too, that has joined us on YouTube. We've seen the subscriber number go up, and that's really, really cool for us. Thank you so much. We're 118, man. How about that? That's really cool. So thank you guys for joining us on YouTube, for seeing the Curtis Mead interview. That was really, really cool. We've gotten private messages about that, and it's really rewarding to know that you guys are enjoying what we do and the interviews and hopefully more to come, guys.
Certainly. And again, we do plan to do a mailbag episode at some point. And just in general, if you have a comment, question, hot take, some thought-provoking thing that you want to mention about the Rays or baseball, life, otherwise, Tampa Bay, we accept it all. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. That's the place to send us that info. Again, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On Bets podcast. That is free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Thursday tomorrow.